Hi, this is Charles, and this video is about Blender's new scene optimization panel that's part of the Omniverse launcher. Right now we're having a look at the Bodium Castle. I hope I'm saying that correctly. This looks like a drone scan, and it has been freely released by someone named W Lab Studio. It's really great. There's a lot of detail, a lot of triangles, and it's a perfect example of something that you might want to, let's say, pop in the background for virtual production, or have as part of a game level in the background for some sort of a AAA experience. We may up-res this, or we may paint it, or what have you, but maybe we really just need to get this asset into Create in a way that runs quickly and can be combined with many, many other assets. Let's go over to Blender and see how that might be done. Now, in this Blender scene that I've set up, I've stripped all the textures, and we have these large chunks of data. So this scan is very dense. There's a lot of triangles, a lot of points. It looks like we're hitting about 2.4 million verts and 4.3 million triangles. This could easily be shown in Create, but if you wanted to have lots and lots and lots of geometry in the scene along with the castle, you'd want to do a little bit of reduction. Here's the Omniverse scene optimization panel. And in the panel, there are many options. So let's go over all of them one by one. The first is validate meshes. If you click this, then it will go through all the meshes that you have selected. If you have none selected or you've turned selected meshes off, it'll do the entire scene. It'll look for bad geometry. In most cases, this is things where like edges are connected to the same point, both start and end, or other kinds of just degenerate topology, and we'll go in and remove that. Weld verts will weld vertices that are close to each other and save you memory. You can change the weld distance, but the default should be pretty good for most cases. Unwrap mesh UVs, if we check this, it will use Blender's Smart Unwrap feature to unwrap each mesh individually in the scene. You can adjust the margin, but I recommend leaving it at 0 to get the best packing and to keep the unwrap process quick. Decimate will allow you to take the number of points and polygons down by a certain percentage. In this example, I'm going to go for 10%. It probably won't hit exactly 10%, but it'll get it a lot lower than it is currently while maintaining the shape. If you're decimating something, you might want to make sure to remove shape keys if shape keys are on there, because if there are shape keys on the mesh, the decimation process will not work. If you have a symmetrical mesh, you can also click yes to use symmetry and choose the symmetry axis. But this is not a symmetrical mesh, so we're going to leave that off. I'm going to hit Optimize Scene now, and we're going to have a look at what this is going to produce for us. I'll see you in a minute once this is finished. And we're back. Blender's decimation algorithm does a pretty good job of reducing points. We have dropped from 2.5 million to about 366,000. And we actually hit our 10%. We went from 4.3 million triangles down to 430,000, which is just great. And if you have a look at these pieces, you can see there's a lot less geometry there, but they still maintain the shape. We have a few more options to go over in the optimization panel. The next is chop meshes. This is useful when you can't reduce the geometry in the scene for whatever reason, but still need to be able to stream parts of the scene in and out of memory as the camera moves around. You can use chop meshes to divide the scene into large cubes where each piece has less vertices than the total from before. Let's run with these settings. Our min box size was 1 meter, and as you can see, these meshes have been subdivided into chunks that seem to fit the 1 meter cubed space. This way, if the camera were over on the right, I could just not draw all those pieces of the mesh and save that time, keeping my frame rate high. If you want to see what that grid looks like, you can create boundary meshes when optimizing with chop meshes. The final option here, Create Bounding Mesh, allows you to create a convex hull for physics calculations. These meshes would not be good for physics calculations because of their concavity. If we hit Optimize Scene now, you'll see that a convex mesh gets created for each object in the scene. It gets parented into the same space in the hierarchy as the original mesh. If you turn Create Duplicate off, it will replace the objects in the scene with their convex hulls instead of creating them next to them. The final button here is Export Optimized Scene to USD. Let's say that I wanted to optimize this scene. I wanted to unwrap UVs, decimate down to 10% of the original point count, and I wanted to generate duplicate bounding meshes for every object. But I don't want to do that in my current Blender file. If I save my file, then hit Export Optimized Scene to USD, and I'm going to pick monkeys.usd here, it'll kick off a process in the background that runs all the optimizations, saves out an optimized USD file for you, and doesn't touch your main scene. Let's go over to Create. I'm in Create. I'm going to open monkeys.usd. And I'm just going to turn on the camera light. As you can see here, we've got all of our convex hulls, those objects, and I'm just going to take them and change the purpose to proxy so we can hide them for a moment. So they're there, and if we look at these monkeys in wireframe mode, we see that they have been reduced quite significantly. But if I go back into Blender, we can see that this scene has not been modified and the original point count remains. That's it for the new Omni Scene Optimization panel. If you have any comments or suggestions, we'd love to hear it, and we'd love to hear any ideas you have for making your workflow into Create even smoother.